Howdy, I'm doubling down on my claim today. Many people in my last video agreed with me that Payday 3 was a poor release that has ruined the dev's credibility after fighting off 3 copyright claims, and they were from 3 different throwaway accounts. I guess I had pissed some people off in the Payday community. So I have a guy in my comments who claims his friend is a dev for Payday, but he kind of refuses to elaborate. He keeps, I'm assuming it's him, that keeps trying to put these claims out. I'm not going to show his name or anything, not going to give him any more credibility than is needed. Sorry about that, my laundry's done. Also, I just think he's got the IQ of a Facebook user, but it also kind of showed me that many people misunderstood what my issue with Payday 3 was. It wasn't that the game, was bad or that the devs don't care. It was simply, if you want to release a game, always make it playable on launch. I had purchased the $90 edition, and up until the actual public release, the pre-launch, it was pretty good. It was playable. On the launch day and the kind of 3 days after, to wait 2 hours to get into a solo match it's ridiculous. And that's what my biggest argument was, is just because they've been working on a game for 10 years shouldn't mean it should have heaps of technical issues or little to no transparency. Because that was one of the main issues I had too, is the devs would just say, oh, we're working on it, but not really provide anything or any proof. And it would work for about 15 minutes, you'd get disconnected from a heist, and bam, now you gotta requeue for 2 hours. And it's kind of sad too when you get most of your updates through Twitter. And yeah, there's going to be outages, whatever, that sometimes happens on release dates, but it shouldn't be as bad as it was. The simplest, solution is just put an offline mode, because there's people who have bad connections who just want to play solo. Or if I just want to practice a high solo, it's still ridiculous now that it takes 5-10 minutes to get into a solo match with nobody else but me. And that's the other issue that I've noticed too, is my theory on why they haven't officially came forward of why it's online only is they're afraid of people modding GTA style, adding money and stuff like that. But in reality, who does it hurt? It only hurts the player, because it's an online PvE co-op game. So if your friend wants to completely, bypass 40-50 hours of gameplay to get, $8 million or whatever and all the skins, then what? You're just not going to want to play the game. It doesn't really have a downside to Starbreeze, other than if they start to sell booster pack type stuff, oh, you could, get this gun for $8.99 or whatever. Those are the only people it hurts. And that's what kills me about modern gaming, is it feels like they don't care. They want you to consume their dog shit. They don't want to at least put a little sprinkle of good in that dog shit. They want to make it terrible. And part of this video too is I'm going to give them some ideas, because I feel like the game kind of, granted it only has a few missions or heists and a handful of guns that the old one had. Here's some ideas that could help make it a bit interesting, because right now it kind of feels like it's lacking. I don't know how to describe it. It just feels like there's content that should be there that's not. And I'm not saying oh, it needs to be exactly like Payday 2 but in a better engine. I know it's going to be different, it's a different game, but there's some stuff they could add that could actually really fit in. And one of those is going to be PvP, not COD, nothing like that. I'm talking Left 4 Dead style versus mode. You could have, 4 versus 4s. 4 people are trying to complete the heist, while another set of 4 players they play as the special units, like tasers, shields, cloakers, bulldozers, the new one, Nader, stuff like that. They could play as these special units, and granted, you could also probably have them play as a regular cop or whatever, nerf their health pool, nerf their damage, but it would require them to work as a team to take down the heisters. And just like Left 4 Dead did it, after so many times, you have a chance to be one of the better special infected. So in Payday 2, the heisters make it pretty far. Now you have a chance to be a cloaker or a bulldozer. And you can make it so these matches don't give as much XP. they're just kind of fun to have some friends and, goof around with. Also, I kind of wish they brought back, in Payday 2, you could actually convert police to work with you. I feel like that is a feature that this game could benefit greatly from, since right now, taking hostages and higher difficulties going loud, the only thing it helps you do is get medkits. And not full medkits, mini medkits. And it will delay the assault timer by like 5-10 seconds per hostage. And I know there's perk trees that help make it better, or, you could tie hostages faster, stuff like that. That's totally fine. Maybe revamp that skill tree, or add some new additions to it. Also, I feel like the XP system in this kind of sucks. You don't get any extra XP for stealthing you don't get any extra XP for stealthing and completely stealthing it, compared to like stealthing and killing 1 or 2 guys. Loud is always going to be, in my opinion, the more fun route, just because it's a lot more action paced, a lot more high tense. Whereas I feel like some of the stealth on some maps are really good, some stealthing on other maps are atrocious. Like the first map is pretty fun to stealth. The art heist map to stealth on Overkill sucks. It is a grind, and one little bug, like a security guard sees another security guard through a wall somehow, and now the heist is over. Also, I feel like the soundtrack just could be a lot better. The current soundtrack we have feels like they asked for a knockoff EDM playlist, whereas Payday 2 had almost 3 entire game soundtracks in it. And that's kind of what we need right now. I feel like the music doesn't go well to the gameplay. I feel like right now the difficulties are fine, don't get me wrong. They're kind of good how they are. They made Overkill actually hard, unlike the last game where you could just kind of go in with akimbo vectors like I did in a P90, and you could pretty much solo any Overkill difficulty map that wasn't stealth. It honestly kind of, I don't know. It seems like a lot of this for a game that's supposedly been in development for 10 years. It feels like a lot of it was half-assed or just not fully tested all the way. And in all honesty, a lot of people kind of assume that it's just, it's just because it's the way gaming is. But that's not how gaming, that's not how it should be. You shouldn't have to sit there and deal with a shitty product and just expect to pay full priced, or expect to get your money's worth if you're getting all this shit. If you want to release it early access at $30-$40. Don't, and make it apparent that it's early access. Don't slap a, well-established brand or game, have it have all these issues, and then just be like, we'll fix them later. Because that's what 90% of game companies are doing. And that's what's going to kill gaming as an industry. You're going to have a lot of indie games coming up doing the same thing but better. And they're not going to ask you to spend $60, $70 on a game. They're going to be charging $25. Granted, the development's going to be a lot slower, but it's going to have a lot more soul than some of these AAA companies do. And the last thing I wanted to add on as well is Overkill Studios is not a small company. They're not a small indie game dev team like people like to make them out to be. They know what they're doing. They've had a formula for 3 games now, or 2.5. That's what this one feels like. Feels like Payday 2.5. They have a formula. They have it. There's nothing they need to change. They should be adding the formula, making it better, not completely trying to figure out a new formula that feels like the old formula. And with all that being said, the industry standard should not be half-finished games on release. That's it. See ya.